The Sunday night family dinner tradition had become a weekly exercise in humiliation. I sat at my parents' dining room table, picking at my mother's pot roast while they discussed my latest failure, refusing a management position at Carter Industries, where both they and my older sister worked. "I just don't understand you, Sophia," my father said, cutting his meat with precise, angry strokes. "A guaranteed executive track, and you turn it down to what? Keep running your little consulting business." I took a small sip of water, letting their disappointment wash over me like a familiar wave. After 10 years, you'd think I'd be used to it. "David from HR told me the position is still open," my mother added hopefully. "I'm sure if we talk to them." "I'm happy with my company," I said quietly, though I knew it was useless. They'd never understood why I'd left Carter Industries 5 years ago to start Porter Consulting Group. My sister Lisa snorted into her wine glass. "Happy? Living in that tiny apartment, driving that old car." "Come on, Sophia. Even the interns at Carter make more than you do." If only they knew. Porter Consulting Group had grown far beyond the little business they imagined. Operating through subsidiaries and holding companies, we'd become one of the largest management consulting firms in the country. But my family didn't need to know that. Not yet. "Did you hear about the merger?" My father asked Lisa, deliberately changing the subject. "Carter's buying out Mitchell and Sons. It's going to be huge." Lisa beamed. "Dad's leading the transition team. They're announcing it next month." I hid my smile behind my napkin. They had no idea that Mitchell and Sons was just a stepping stone in a much larger plan. "You could have been part of this," my mother sighed, giving me that familiar look of disappointment. "Instead, you're just, what do you even do all day?" "Consulting," I replied simply. "Helping companies streamline their operations." "Small companies," my father corrected. "Local businesses that can't afford real consultants. When are you going to stop playing around and get serious about your career?" My phone buzzed quietly in my pocket, probably another update about the Carter Industries acquisition. The real one, not the Mitchell and Sons smokescreen my father was so proud of. "You're such a disappointment," Dad sighed, shaking his head. "All that potential wasted." I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "I should go. Early meeting tomorrow." "With what, a food truck vendor?" Lisa laughed. "I'm sure that's very demanding." I gathered my things, listening to them discuss Carter's bright future. They had no idea that in 3 weeks, they'd be walking into a merger meeting that would change everything. "At least think about coming back to Carter," my mother called as I reached the door. "It's not too late to fix your life." The drive home to my tiny apartment, actually the entire top floor of one of the city's most exclusive buildings, gave me time to think. 10 years of dismissal and mockery had led to this moment. 10 years of building my company in secret, watching and waiting for the perfect opportunity. My phone rang through the car's speakers. "Ms. Porter?" "The final paperwork just came in. The board approved the purchase unanimously." "Thank you, Marcus," I replied, smiling as I pulled into my private garage. "Let's proceed with phase 2. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. My parents and Lisa continued their weekly calls and texts, alternating between guilt trips and thinly veiled insults about my career choices. I let them talk, knowing that soon they'd be seeing things very differently. The morning of the merger meeting, I sat in my private office on the 50th floor of the Porter building, which my family thought was still called the Anderson Tower, and reviewed the final details. Carter Industries, once my father's pride and joy, was now officially mine. "Ms. Porter?" My assistant Emma appeared at the door. "Your 9 o'clock is here, and your father's team just arrived in the main conference room." I stood up, smoothing my designer suit, one my mother would have killed to own if she'd known the brand. Perfect timing. Let's not keep them waiting. The executive floor of Porter Consulting Group gleamed with subtle power. Unlike Carter's dated brass and wood decor, we'd opted for clean lines and modern elegance. Through the glass walls, I could see my father's team settling into the conference room, their backs to my office. "They have no idea you're involved," Emma said quietly. "They think they're meeting with Mitchell and Sons." I picked up the acquisition papers, the real ones, not the fake merger documents my father had been working on. Time to change that perception. I watched through the glass as Emma entered the conference room. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO of Porter Consulting Group." My father was shuffling his papers importantly, not even bothering to look up. Lisa was checking her phone, probably texting about her upcoming promotion, the one that wasn't going to happen now. I walked in, my heels clicking softly on the polished floor. "Good morning, everyone. Shall we begin?" The sound of my voice made them both freeze. Lisa's phone clattered to the table. My father's papers slipped from his fingers, scattering across the glossy surface. "Sophia?" he whispered, his face draining of color. What are you doing here?" I took my seat at the head of the table, enjoying the way their eyes darted around the room, taking in the Porter Consulting Group logos they'd somehow never noticed before. "I believe you're here to discuss a merger," I said calmly, opening my folder. "Though not quite the one you were expecting." Lisa recovered first, her perfectly manicured hand gripping her phone like a lifeline. "This is ridiculous. You can't be. Porter Consulting Group is a multi-billion-dollar company." "Indeed it is," I replied, nodding to Emma. She began distributing folders to everyone at the table. "Inside you'll find the acquisition agreement. As of 9 o'clock this morning, Carter Industries is officially a subsidiary of Porter Consulting Group." My father's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "This is impossible. You run a small consulting firm. Local businesses, food trucks. That's what you chose to see," I corrected him. "In reality, Porter Consulting Group operates in 38 countries, employs over 10,000 people, and as of last quarter, was valued at just under $12 billion. The other executives in the room were frantically flipping through their folders, their faces showing a mix of shock and growing respect. They'd all dismissed me over the years, following my father's lead. "The merger with Mitchell & Sons," Lisa began, "was never real," I finished for her. "It was a cover story we planted to keep Carter's board distracted while we'd acquired controlling interests through subsidiary companies." I turned to my father. "You really should have paid more attention to those small stock purchases over the last 6 months." He slumped in his chair, the reality finally hitting him. "All this time, when we thought you were struggling, I was building something bigger than you could imagine," I said calmly. "While you were mocking my little business, I was orchestrating one of the largest consulting firm expansions in the industry." Emma stepped forward with another tablet. "The press release is ready to go live, Ms. Porter, and the transition team is standing by." Lisa's face had gone pale. "Transition team? But what about our positions? My promotion?" "All management positions will be reviewed," I replied, watching her confidence crumble. "Porter Consulting Group has strict policies about merit-based advancement. Family connections no longer guarantee success at Carter Industries." "You can't do this," my father suddenly burst out, slamming his fist on the table. "I built Carter's consulting division from nothing. 25 years of my life. And in the last 10 years, you've watched it decline." I countered. "Outdated methodologies, resistance to digital transformation, and a corporate culture that values loyalty over competence. Did you think no one would notice?" I pressed a button, and the wall screen came to life, displaying Carter's true performance metrics, not the massaged numbers they showed shareholders. "Client retention down 40%, I began. "Employee turnover at record highs. 3 failed international expansions in the last 5 years. And let's not forget the discrimination lawsuits you've been quietly settling." The other executives shifted uncomfortably. They'd known of these problems but had been too afraid to challenge my father's leadership. "Your own daughter," my father's voice cracked, orchestrating a hostile takeover. "Hostile?" I raised an eyebrow. "The board voted unanimously in favor of the acquisition. They've known about Carter's problems for years. They were relieved when we offered a solution." Lisa stood up, her chair scraping back. "This is about revenge, isn't it? Because we didn't support your little entrepreneurial dream." I looked at her calmly. "This is about business. Carter Industries needs new leadership, modern methodologies, and a complete cultural overhaul. The fact that it comes from someone you underestimated is just poetic justice." My father seemed to age years in minutes. "What happens now?" "Now," I opened another folder. "We begin the transition, starting with the consulting division." "My division," he whispered. "Not anymore," I replied. "Your retirement package is on page 3. Generous by industry standards. More than your performance warranted, but I respect the company's history." The other executives were already reading through the transition plans, their faces showing growing enthusiasm. They'd been waiting for change, held back by old guard leadership. And me? Lisa's voice was small. You'll need to reapply for your position, I said. Your current role is being eliminated in the restructuring. Feel free to submit your resume through proper channels this time, not family connections. Your mother will be devastated. My father tried one last guilt trip. After everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me, I couldn't help but laugh. Let's review. You dismissed my business plans, mocked my career choices, and spent 10 years telling everyone who would listen what a disappointment I was. The only thing you did was teach me to succeed despite you, not because of you. I stood up, smoothing my suit. The transition team will be in touch with next steps. Security will escort you out when you're ready. Your access cards have been deactivated. Wait, my father called as I reached the door. Sophia, how did we not know? All this success, this power. How did we miss it? I turned back, meeting his eyes. Because you saw what you expected to see. The daughter who didn't follow your path couldn't possibly be successful. That assumption just cost you your company. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of changes. Carter Industries was integrated into Porter Consulting Group's operations, with most employees keeping their jobs except for the upper management that had enabled the company's decline. My mother called daily, alternating between tears and anger. She had to cancel her country club membership, now that my father's executive privileges were gone. Lisa tried to sue for wrongful termination but withdrew the suit when our lawyers presented evidence of her own misconduct, taking credit for subordinates' work, falsifying client reports. 1 month after the acquisition, I sat in my office reviewing the transition reports when Emma announced an unexpected visitor. Send them in, I said, not looking up from my work. The door opened and expensive perfume filled the air. My mother stood there, looking smaller and less polished than I remembered. The receptionist didn't recognize me, she said quietly. New protocols, I replied, finally meeting her eyes. All visitors must be cleared, regardless of their connection to management. She sat down uninvited, her designer bag, last season's model, clutched in her hands. Your father, he's not well. The doctors say it's stress. The company's health insurance will cover any treatment he needs, I said. It's a better plan than Carter had, actually. That's not why I'm here. She took a deep breath. I want to understand. All these years, watching you struggle, or thinking we were watching you struggle. You saw what you expected to see, I said simply. A daughter who didn't fit your image of success. Someone who didn't follow the traditional path. We were wrong, she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. So terribly wrong. I leaned back in my chair, studying her. Did you come here to apologize, Mother? Or because your credit cards were declined at Nordstrom? She flinched. We deserve that. We deserve all of it. But Sophia, you're still our daughter. Surely that means something. It meant nothing when I needed your support, I said calmly. Why should it mean something now that I don't? A tear slipped down her cheek. Because we've learned. Because seeing everything you've built, everything you've become, we're proud of you, Sophia, even if we don't deserve to be. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city where my company had become a major force. Pride is easy when success is visible, Mother. The question is, would you have been proud of me during the struggle? When I was working 18-hour days, reinvesting every penny into building something real? No, she admitted softly. We wouldn't have been. And that's our shame to carry. I turned back to face her. Lisa called yesterday. She wants a job at Porter. And I told her what Dad told me 10 years ago. Get some real experience first. Stop relying on family connections. She nodded slowly. She's living in our guest room now. Her condo, her lifestyle, was built on nepotism and false confidence, I finished. Actions have consequences, Mother. Even for Daddy's favorite. I pressed a button on my phone. Emma, bring in the package for Mrs. Carter. My assistant appeared moments later with a thick envelope. I handed it to my mother. What's this? She asked, opening it carefully. A fresh start, I said. Information about small business loans, real estate listings for affordable commercial spaces, everything you need to build something real, if you're willing to do the work. She stared at the papers, then at me. You'd help us? After everything? I'm not helping, I corrected her. I'm offering an opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. But understand this, there will be no shortcuts, no family favors. If you want to succeed, you'll do it the right way. My mother stood, clutching the envelope like a lifeline. Thank you, Sophia, for the opportunity and for the lesson. After she left, I returned to my work. Porter Consulting Group had grown beyond my wildest dreams, but success wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving yourself right. The company continues to thrive, now one of the most respected firms in the industry. My father eventually found work at a smaller consulting firm, learning humility and modern business practices. Lisa started over in an entry-level position, finally understanding the value of earning her way. And me? I still keep my first business plan framed in my office, written on the back of a Carter Industries memo. It reminds me that true worth isn't measured by family approval or social status, but by what you build and how you build it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone's world, it's building your own, bigger and better than they could imagine.